and have just a conversation with you. And I want to thank my good friend Lane Lewis for all that he's done for Harris County Democratic Party and for all of us that hold progressive politics close to our heart. So I'd like to give a round of applause to Lane and also thank you. And there's other great Democrats that lists are too long to start talking about, but I certainly appreciate all the folks that have come before us and folks that are coming after us. So we'll have a good, leave the party in good shape and the city and county in good shape in the future. So I look forward to working with everyone much closer than I have in the past, and we'll continue to do good things for the people of the city. But I appreciate the first thing that Lane said. I am a Democrat. Very proud of that fact. I grew up in western North Carolina, and the proud son of two progressive Democrats there. My dad was a former police officer who worked very hard and became a judge later on. My mother was a jeweler and an entrepreneur, and my mother's father was a farmer, and my dad's dad was a furniture maker. So I come from a long line of very progressive folks that have worked very hard to make my life better, and I'm here today because of many folks, including them. But I'm running for mayor because of my duty to give back to the people of this city. The city of Houston, Texas, and the United States, I have enjoyed many, many opportunities, and I want to make sure that I'm giving back, and that I leave, after I'm mayor, I leave the city in good shape where people have the same opportunities that I had when I came here. So I'm a businessman. I'm a business leader. I've invested in many types of companies over the years by profession. I've invested in companies that are in real estate, healthcare, and energy, and in the financial sector as well. So I've had a lot of experience in companies that are very different. And I look to diversify my portfolio over the years. And, we've had lots of successes. We've had some setbacks and failures, but that's how businesses are, and you keep going. So I have been very fortunate in my career to be involved with many charitable organizations. I was brought up to make sure that I give back to my community, to my country, in any way that I can. So it's been an honor to look for ways to serve. And in 2011, President Obama appointed me to the board of directors to the United States Agency for International Development. And that's a position that I currently serve in. It's taken me all over the world, and I've really enjoyed giving back to the American people in this role. Our annual budget of the agency is $22 billion. That's your taxpayer dollars. And it's the USAID is the chief principal investment agency of the United States. And we carry out the foreign policy objectives that the president sets. And all members of the board are appointed by the president. So it's been a great honor to serve the American people in this role. And in that role, I've traveled to many countries. I've seen and been involved in development progress and processes that include things from infrastructure, streets, sewers, bridges, agricultural development, financial systems, democracy building, many other things that would assist in developing any nation. And our nation is like just any other developing nation. We're always developing. We cannot stand by and let the world pass us by. So we must always be inventing We must always be developing. So I have a unique experience in that role that I've played with USAID. So I enjoy that, and I'll continue to serve in that role. There's many reasons why I'm running for mayor. I think that one, I'm uniquely qualified. I am the only business candidate in the race. I am a business leader. I know what it is to to create companies. I know what it is to manage companies. I know what failures are. I know what successes are. So I've got the scars to prove. Some very significant failures, but they do never compare to the successes, and we always learn from them. As an entrepreneur, I look at everything as an experience, and we never quit. That's what we are as Americans. That's what we do as Democrats, and that's Houston. We never stop creating. We never stop learning from our mistakes. We never stop doing. So at any time during the conversation, you're welcome to ask any questions. Just stop me along the way, and we'll have some time to, I'll answer any questions that you may have. I want to talk about some of the things that are important to me if you choose to elect me as your next mayor. Economic development is one of my three most important tasks that I will undertake as your mayor. Currently, the city really doesn't have an economic development plan or policy. And if you look at where we are financially, the city has significant budget constraints. The city has unfunded liabilities in the billions of dollars, and that's something that will come out during the campaign. I think into the summer as we go into that with all of the candidates. So the city is in a very unique position financially. So economic development is going to play a major role in our financial success. The mayor is faced with a couple of things to shore up its financial position. We're faced with either raising taxes, which none of us want to do, or like any other business, we're short on funds. We go out and get new revenue. I'm in favor of going out and getting new revenue, and that's economic development. The city currently doesn't have a real Office of Economic Development, and what does that actually mean? That means that we need to look for new businesses to relocate to Houston, new industries in particular. We can't just rely on the oil field for our financial security. As we all know, oil is a big player in this town, and it's a marketable commodity. And as prices go up, prices also fall, and our jobs are tied to that. So we need to look for other alternatives to relocate here. Manufacturing comes to mind. Technology industry. We have all the tools necessary to be a technology hub in the United States, right here in Houston. We just have to go after it. We have to actively recruit businesses to come to this city. And that will help with our financial position. It will also help make sure that we're not left in a position where we've got thousands and thousands of people at one time unemployed. Everyone knows that a few major corporations here in town recently just laid off 10,000+ people. And as mayor, I look at that and I say, that's my responsibility. I need to go out and make sure that these people are as employed as possible. So that's one of the roles of government, is to make sure that we're constantly looking for ways to keep people employed, constantly looking for ways to keep our revenue stream flowing into the city. Infrastructure improvements, everybody talks about, we need to fix potholes. There's no question about that. Potholes are a big deal. It's part of our crumbling infrastructure. And that's a management function. So we've got to do that. We've got to invest in ourselves, in the city, and put money back into our infrastructure and fix potholes. But it's more than just that. We've got to fix drainage. We've got to fix sewer. We've got to fix water coming in and out, and increase mobility. Part of the issues that we have with the crumbling infrastructure is getting people from A to B to C. We've got to look for alternative forms of transportation. Our city is growing by the thousands every month, and they're not going to stop coming. So I've got to make sure that people are gainfully employed, that they can get around from A to B efficiently and quickly, and that the city keeps moving. That's key. So we look to alternatives such as mass transit, buses, trains, adequate sidewalks, bicycle, anything that we can utilize to get people around will make our city a much more livable city. So that's going to be important. Public safety, that's very, very important. I think that we need 1,000 new police officers on the street, and not just people with badges and guns. We need adequate training, retraining of all the current police officers that we have, including the new police officers that need to be on the streets. I often say that policing is a science, and it changes through decades based on the will of the people. What do the people want from their police and fire? We need to match what is required of us by the people that we serve. So 20 years ago, policing was very different. And 20 years from now, policing will also be very different. So we need to be able to evolve, to keep up with our times, to be sensitive to cultures, to be sensitive to the world that we currently live in. And I think that's very important. So education will come along with the new police officers. And so we're looking forward to keeping our city as safe, not only for us, but for the people that protect us. So a lot of education dollars will be spent on police and fire. So I want to stop there and ask if there's any questions so far. I don't want to get too far along. Anyway? Yes, Chairman.
Revenue cap. What is your opinion?
Well, I continue to study that. I haven't made a final decision on what my position will be on that, and I see pros and cons on both sides of it. Certainly, we want to look for as many alternatives. Everything is on the table. Okay, when we're in a financial crisis, everything is on the table. But I have not made a final decision what my position is on that yet. And when we do, we'll release that.
For those of us in the watchers who don't know what the revenue cap issue is, can you explain to us what that issue is and why it's important?
Well, I think that I don't know that I can do that without taking a position on it. So I will release that very soon. We're still studying that, and I see pros and cons on both sides. So until I make a final decision on it, I'd like to defer that. Yes, sir.
What about the mass transit with the trains? As far as like increasing the lines and the places that they go?
I think that's certainly part of our mobility. Trains are part of getting people from A to B now. Any major city in the world that you travel to, you see that trains and buses are part of their transit system. It's commonly used. It wasn't commonly used in Houston for decades. We had plenty of concrete and roads, but as population increases, it becomes more and more important. So I support the train system. I support the expansion of the train system. I would put the one of the first places it should go is to the airport, at least to Hobby Airport. It makes perfect sense because as we have businesses that come to Houston, people that come for work to Houston, it's likely that they're going downtown or to the medical center. And since those lines are already established, getting them from Hobby, that's now an international airport, to downtown and to the medical center just makes perfect sense. So I think that should be the next expansion of rail. And I think we'll get more ridership out of it.
Ridership was my next point. As I drive my car into work and I see the trains on Main Street, they're 3/4 empty. And I almost wish, well, I'd like to take a train to work, but there's no accessibility for where I live.
Sure.
But how do we increase the accessibility on the lines that are available?
I think it needs to be expanded into where people are. To get you from where you work downtown. I mean, I've known Bill for years. So to get you to use it, it needs to be where you would get on it, where you live, the areas that you live. So I think the trains here, not only in Houston, but trains to Dallas and to other cities in Texas.
Washington, D.C., they have above ground transportation. I've been there before, so they have above ground.
Sure.
Part of the problem with the bus system is that if you work second or third shift, you have lots of parts of town, you're screwed because you can't take the bus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's an easy answer to that or not.
Well,
like where I'm at, the bus quits running at 6:30 in the evening. If you got to be at work at 11, if you got to get home from work at 11, you can't ride the bus. If you got to go to work at 11 at night, you can't use the bus.
Sure. I think that we need to look at many best practices with mobility to get ridership up. We want people to use what's available to them, the buses, the trains. But we've got to go to where they are and where they need to be. So I really think that the next and easiest step would be to go to the airport, at least one of the airports, and then look at expansion outwards. Next step is to say, well, how are we going to pay for that? Well, we need. Houston doesn't have a great track record in asking for federal funds or applying for federal funds or state funds, for that matter, for many different things. Transportation is one of those. So we'll be looking to get our fair share here in Houston from the federal government and state government, whatever's available to us, to make those improvements, because that's really what our future is getting people around, making it a livable city where people can move and do business and commute and live. Thank you. Is there a question over there? Okay, so I think that so we talked about transportation. We talked
Term limits.
term limits. I have studied that, and I believe that 2 4-year terms for council, the mayor, and controller is more appropriate than what we have right now. I haven't read it lately, but I did read the report, the study that was done a few years ago, and I do agree with that. So I think that the committee recommended 2 4-year terms, and I would support that. Yes, sir.
You mentioned expanding or bringing in new industries into Houston and recruiting them here. Can you give some examples? Is that manufacturing, healthcare, technology? Do you have any ideas of what you would target to bring here to Houston?
Certainly, I would target technology and manufacturing. We have more technology startups in the city of Houston than Austin does currently, but nobody knows. Nobody knows that. So we've got to take a bold leap with recruiting those companies and helping them to do business here. That's the next great idea could come right out of Houston. The next Google, the next Apple, next iPhone could come from here. It's technology is really what separates us from the rest of the world. And I want to be a place, this city, to be a place where it's considered a technology hub, that you have a cooperative government that will help to clear the path in the wilderness and let business and the people build the road that they want. So technology will be at the forefront of our recruitment process. And the Economic Development Office will report directly to the mayor. We'll take everything in-house just like any other government does. The state of Texas has done a very good job at recruiting businesses both internationally and around the country to relocate or open additional offices in Texas. I want to bring that part of that model that the state of Texas has used and improve on it and utilize it for the city of Houston. Thank you.
Yeah. So as mayor, would one of your goals or achievements be to try and balance the budget at all, or do you think that just lowering down the debt is sufficient?
No, we've got to, as one of the responsibilities of mayor and any elected official is to be good stewards of the people's money, and we do need to balance the budget. There's no question. There's candidates that are running for city council now or that are running for re-election that I will support because I think that they have the same like-mindedness, that we must balance the budget. We must do everything that we can to do as much with the resources that we have. But we can't cut our way to prosperity. I know some of the candidates look to just cut, and at any cost, and do the bare minimum. And I don't think that's what government should do. We need to make investments into ourselves, our infrastructure, the services that the city provides. We are a service company at the end of the day. So we have to make investments in ourselves. So again, we can't cut our way to prosperity, but we do need to be as conservative with the taxpayers' resources as possible. Good question. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. How about housing? Affordable and adequate for different types of levels of income, that would be incoming or already existing?
Sure. I spent quite a bit of time with the City Housing Authority within the last, I'd say month and a half. And I was highly impressed with the leadership at the City Housing Department. They are really on the cusp of doing some very innovative things to make housing very affordable, good quality housing. It's not just making it affordable; it's making it affordable and livable. And I was very impressed with the leadership there. So I look forward to working with them more closely. I am going back in about a month to hear their plans. They were right in the middle of some new strategic ideas that they're going to share with me and anybody. It's public record at some point. But I look forward to hearing what their strategic plans are. But they've done a lot with very little, and they've actually reduced their consumption. So they've really done a good job at serving the public, and I look forward to hearing their new plans. So we'll get a fresh update in about a month.
Is space needed for individual taken into consideration, because
I couldn't hear you, ma'am. Sorry.
Spacing. The amount of space that each individual needs in order to take care of their life. We're getting private, and so we're living closer together, and that depends on the concentration. It's not particularly a healthy way of life.
Sure.
Studies show that just a domestic cat, a pet, needs, in order to have a healthy life, 30 square cubic feet of space. In something. There are some small apartment houses in my neighborhood where the children have a lot less than that, and not even a playground where they can stretch out after school hours.
Well-
It creates a problem to the community as much as it is for the children and guardians that happen to life.
Sure. Well, we need to make sure that we're always evolving and learning from the past. So, you know, I'm all for more space for people that the city can afford, that, you know, can be provided adequately, and, you know, those standards always need to be looked at every few years. So I certainly support reviewing, you know, basic standards for anyone that's on, you know, housing assistance every few years. Thank you. You have a question? You had a question? You look like you have a question. Yes, sir.
I would like to know a little more about you. You're from North Carolina, and you came here, and you look like you would be the youngest mayor we ever had if you became mayor. Can you tell us some more about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm 41. Let's see. What else can I told you I'm a businessman. All my education is in business. I lecture a lot to universities around not only the United States but around the world. I love to do that. Part of my give back is I go to business schools. I've lectured at Texas A&M, University of Houston, University of St. Thomas, University of Missouri, Montana, you know, many universities. I think that's something that's very important to me, and it was something that was instilled in my siblings and I from our parents, that we always have to look for ways to give back. And I think that's one of the reasons why I want to run for mayor. It's I'm willing to trade my private life for a public life, and that will be for the rest of my life. I've been very blessed and fortunate to have been given the opportunities that this city has to offer, and I want to make sure that folks that come behind me have the same opportunities. So I'm also a businessman. I mean, I believe in free markets. I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe in people taking advantage of opportunities that are before them. That's what this country was founded on. So I will always encourage entrepreneurship and, you know, trying new things. So I love this city, and I owe this city, and that's why I want to give back to it.
Have you held offices before?
No, I'm not someone that's run and lost over and over again. I am a new candidate. I think I bring new leadership that the city needs, and we'll see where it goes after that. And I think you're right. I am certainly the youngest candidate in this race. I'm not sure about ever being mayor before, but
Fred Hoffman was mayor when he was 36 years old.
Was he that young? Gee.
Okay, so
I was younger too.
My daughter had her day when she was born. Fred Hoffman made it her day, Clarissa Solochic Day.
Oh, good. All right, good. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
What
Yes.
about the homeless and you know, and the I think of the food that restaurants waste and that we as just in our own homes waste, and then I think it's like 40% of the food grown is thrown away.
Yeah.
I mean, what can we do in this city of Houston for not only the homeless, but all this wasted food that just gets thrown away?
You know, I agree with that, and I've been around the world, and I've seen people starving, and some of the saddest cases that you'd ever want to see, and that exists. Poverty exists in every corner of the world.
And here in the United States too.
Yeah, most of the world's population lives on less than $2 a day. So when I see the food wasted, I'm reminded of places that I've been, and even some places here, right here in the United States.
There's some cities that make it against the law to feed the homeless.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is, I think, a disgrace.
Yeah, that's a shame, and we need to always do everything we can to help rise people out of poverty. Mm-hmm. And it's we have all the opportunities, like I talked about. This is a land of opportunity. We have not only the opportunity to raise people out of poverty. I think we have a duty to do that. So, setting the health concerns aside, I think that's something we need to look at again. It's one of those issues like with the housing department. Everything's on the table. Everything's on the table with our financial position of the city. We need to look at everything again because the city changes. We evolve as a people, and we always need to be looking for ways to make ourselves better. And the way I look at it is that as mayor, I intend to be mayor of everyone, Democrats, Republicans, white, black, any way you look, whether you be poor or rich. I want to be your mayor of the entire city. And I have a duty and responsibility to look after the people that need us the most as well. Thank you. Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to add other things to the waste stream. It's not just restaurants or supermarkets that throw away food. Every school cafeteria, what goes in the trash is more than 50% of what goes in the tray of the students.
Yeah, it's a shame, and we really need to look at that. At that and everything. Everything's on the table. So I want to bring a whole of government approach to City Hall, and that means that every department is working and sharing resources, not only financial resources but ideas and information. And we need to really look at homelessness, how we can help feed people, how we can raise people out of poverty. This is a city of opportunity. We need to take the opportunities that are presented. Yes, sir.
So the Department of Economic Development that you want, would it also cater to like low-income neighborhoods, so Third Ward, Acres Homes, those neighborhoods, as well as try and recruit new businesses to the city?
Well, economic development is a whole of government. I mean, that means that we have to engage our international departments. We have to engage the people that are stakeholders here in the community. It's not one thing is going to work. It takes all of a policy to everybody lifting, doing the heavy lifting on to make policy, good policy. So everybody's involved in that. Everybody's involved in making our city a sellable city. It's going to take me as your mayor to go out and say, this is what I have to sell. German manufacturing or technology company. I've got something to sell. Here's what we have to sell. We have great people. We have a great medical center. We have great transportation systems. We have good parks. We have some of the finest arts in the world is here. We have good quality of life. And that's what it will take to sell our city. And, everybody knows that Houston's one of the best kept secrets in the world. People come here and then they fall in love with it, and then we can't get them to leave. So as the saying is, it's hard to get people to move here, but it's harder to get them to leave. And those people have come. The world has come to Houston. It's now time to take Houston to the world, and that's what I want to do. Yes, ma'am. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, well, Houston is a diversified and progressive city, but also, what is your viewpoint on the HERO ordinance?
I support HERO. It is the law, and as mayor, I will enforce the law, and I will defend that. I think it's the right thing to do. I think that it's time that we take a stand. I want to live in a city where everybody feels welcome, and I will enforce the law.